What is going on, Badger fans? Let's do the live call-in show. Let's talk about expectations week 2. What's your score prediction? How's your confidence vibes? We're going to talk about all that and more. Today's Locked On Badgers plus some of your comments from the last week on Wisconsin. Let's go. Man, my live stuff has been messing up. I don't know if my banner's playing. We're just going to roll with it. I don't care. This is the live Friday show anyway. It's supposed to be playing. We're bringing Curtis on. Curtis, man, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man. It's Badgers After Dark. I got my robe on. I'm drinking a little bit of nightcap here, but I'm excited for tomorrow.
Dude, let's do it. Let's get a few of these other people on. Again, themes for today. It's really, these shows are really however people want to take them. Like whatever's on your mind, whatever you want to talk about, but mostly what's your feels heading into week 2, confidence level, score prediction. We're going to get Andrew on first. He's been in the queue for a second here. Andrew, man, welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in. Vibe check, week 2. What do you got?
I don't know. It was a rough showing in week 1, but there are some other teams that didn't look as great either in week 1. But I'm expecting hopefully at least the 30 points for us, but we'll see.
Where are you calling from?
I'm from Morgantown, West Virginia.
Oh, nice. How'd you become a Badger fan?
My dad's from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and he went to Wisconsin for college.
Right on. So you're thinking we score 30. What's a key to the game or some player you're looking for specifically?
Hopefully the run game, because this is just probably a tune-up game for the Alabama game, but I don't know if that will go well or not. But hopefully he can get the ball more to Trech, because he had some key conversions last game that were big.
Curtis, man, in the robe, thoughts on getting the ball more to Trech?
I'm all for it, man. I think Trech has a lot of potential. You know, I think you see him constantly being open, a great outlet, and he's got some good speed. I would say he's more quick than fast. But you know, I think getting him in the game and getting him some confidence, you know, getting him in the end zone, getting him some more points, like those are going to be things that I think will help us out in the long term.
I want to kick this to both of you guys because this is one of the comments I was going to bring up. We always preload some comments for this show too, in case depending on who we get or who calls in. This is from Arrogant P. He said Trech is the most dangerous receiver on the team, and it's not that close. Despite his speed, Pauling is a possession receiver. Buy or sell this. Trech is the most dangerous receiver on the team right now. Let's start with you, Curtis, and then we'll go to Andrew.
So this is going to sound like a non-answer. I'm going to say it depends. I think situationally he can be. You know, if you get him in space, you get him maybe in a screen, and we had it blocked well. I think he can be incredibly dangerous getting around defenders. I think he's very quick. He can juke people out their shoes. We watched him juke the number 1 linebacker in the country out at LSU last year, so he's got a lot of talent in that regard. But the fact that Pauling is kind of got the reputation he has, that his picture's on the homepage for our NCAA 25 game, I think he's going to be the guy who the defense keys on. And because of that, he can be the most dangerous. He's going to pull the defense out of position. He's going to get double teams. Those are going to be the things that allow the rest of our players to be open. So I think that Pauling is, and that's not even to say that Pauling does have skills. I mean, he was consistently open on Friday, especially watching, you know, the playback and replays. Like he's open a lot of times. And so I think, you know, maybe he had some jitters first week, dropped some passes, but I think he's going to still be our number 1 guy.
Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I do think Pauling is more of a possession receiver, and I think Trech could take it to the house anytime he really touches it. And that's kind of what excites me about him. Plus, you're not getting your number 1 corner on him. You're getting number 2, so that's even better.
I agree. I actually kind of buy it. I think Trech probably is the most dangerous. And you're right. Like, Curtis, you're right. Like, Pauling is the established guy. I think he's the more consistent guy for sure. Trech has a risk of running wrong routes at a higher rate. But I see Justin down there. We're going to jump him in here a second too. But yeah, like, I think Trech is the most dangerous guy. He's a little more inconsistent. Pauling's a safer bet, but yeah, I'm with Arrogant Peter. I think he is. Here's the thing. We saw Trech on that short kickoff to start the second half, reverse field, and like he has a different gear. He just does. Andrew, really quickly, because I got a couple other people in the queue. Score prediction this week. What would you need to see to make you feel good heading into Bama?
Hopefully in mid 30s, because they were expecting us to score at least 30 to 40 points last week, and we didn't even reach that. But hopefully, like a 35-14 game. Hopefully, is my
I'll take
prediction.
that. Andrew, man, thank you so much. Calling from Morgantown, West Virginia. Appreciate you, brother. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
All right, let's get Rob in here. Let's get Justin here. Oh, hold on. I need to do my 4 here. All right, Rob, what's up, my friend? We got Justin, too.
Oh, man.
Well, I don't hear you, Rob.
There, now you're good.
Yeah,
I
I got
muted
you.
it when I was backstage.
Got you. Same question to you two guys. Trech the most dangerous receiver on the team, buy or sell?
I buy it. It's not even close. His short area quickness and his creativity with it is better than anybody. I like Pauling's long speed better, but I think Trech is just better in that first 15 yards. And I think that that's the big deal with him, is that when you get him on a guy who doesn't have the same level of ability, they have to guess in order to stay with him. And if they guess wrong, suddenly there's a huge separation. And you saw that when you were watching them live during the week. Like, you make the wrong move on him and you're done. Like, you're just out of the play because he's fast enough too that you can't stay with him. Nobody else really has that. Pauling has some of it, but he's not a guy who does a lot of dancing when he's running routes. He seems to separate just based off of straight line speed a little bit more.
Rob, what do you think?
I was going to say with Pauling, he seems like a smooth runner. Like, he's not going to be really shifty, but he's going to hit that like one cut and go. Is kind of what I've seen from him. And I mean, me and Justin, we both got the plus 40 for Trech. So I mean, you should have known our answer already.
I've changed my mind on that one. Here's the thing. Let me say this. He needs plus 40, right? Like, I've almost changed my mind too. He's going to get there too. I think this offense needs him to get there for this thing to really work.
They have to find a way to use him and Pauling in tandem. If they want to reach what the max of this offense is, they're the two most dynamic players we have, unless they put Dupree in there and he turns out to be what he was in camp.
No, I agree with the Pauling and Trech sets. I think 10 personnel is honestly potentially our strongest package, at least from a offensive scoring potential perspective. I'm going to push back a little bit on Trech being the most dangerous player on the field, not because of what you guys said. I mean, I agree. I think he's the most dynamic person with the ball in his hands, probably on our entire team. And I'm struggling to think of anybody even comes close. Maybe Dupree in the future, but not at this moment. But the reason I like Pauling is what you said, Justin. He's got more speed, and he's a one cut and go guy. I think a problem that Trech can run into, and we saw this on the reverse back on the field. Yeah, it looked cool. He juked the dude out of shoes, but he got maybe 5 more yards than he would have got if he went down there, right? Now that's good. It's plus 5 yards, but he couldn't have carried it to the end zone, and that's the difference I think between him and Pauling. You get Pauling, you get a one cut and go, and maybe there's a missed coverage. Like for example, when we played LSU last year, he's going to the house, and no one's going to catch him, right? And so that's why I say I think he's still the most dangerous guy on the team. But I think, like I said, I think Trech is the most dynamic guy with the ball in his hands, without doubt.
That's fair.
As it says, Bryson Green, key to the offense, Pauling, Trech are there to get first downs on 3rd and 8. I think they're a little more dynamic than that. I actually struggle a little at times with Bryson Green. Let me pull up a few more of these comments up, and we'll just go roundtable on them. Guys, this one here. Let's see. More carries for Yak. Dice Gambling says the running back room looked good. Wish Aker and Yakimelli got more carries and more looks. I know we've talked a lot about Dupree Jones. Rob, we'll start with you. Like, does Yak need more carries, more touches?
Just from being at the game, I'd say he's definitely the change of pace guy. I would say that Walker and Chez are somewhat similar in the way they run. So yeah, definitely being the speed guy there, just to switch it up a little bit. I think he could definitely use some more carries intermixed in there.
I really struggle to quantify what we saw from him. They were nice carries, but I don't know if that's him on a consistent carry basis, which is why I'm a little leery on it. Like, I don't.
It came at the end of the game. A lot of it came at the end of the game.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Is when we had the game was in hand at that point, and it was more. It felt like they finally, Western Michigan, whether we figured a couple of things out or whatever, all the backs started looking a little bit better towards the fourth quarter. I also think that when it comes down to it, I just don't know that he's a significant upgrade over best case scenario over the other two guys. And I don't think that he offers more in terms of like explosiveness than Dupree and Jones do. I think he's a good back. He just doesn't have that. Like right now, the Badgers are searching for stars. They need to find playmakers because that's where they're struggling. I'm not saying that he can't offer more than what Malusi and Tyree Walker are doing, but I don't think he can do more than those two guys if we start giving them carries. There were some interesting things they discussed on the camp today with regards to it. Them talking about potentially not wanting to make waves within the locker room by not just handing over reps to these guys, which makes sense. But I also think that if you're players and you see guys that are extremely talented, even if you have talent, at some point you have to be honest with yourself. This guy's better than me. Like he needs to be on the field. Like there's talk about how when Russell Wilson came in, when everybody was like, this guy doesn't, he's not going to go start. He's not going to be on the field. And then they saw him throw the first day and they're like, okay, never mind. And it's like, that's kind of how it is with athletes. When you see guys that can do stuff, you want those guys playing because you want to win when it comes down to it. So yeah, these guys don't want it handed over to anybody, but they also want to go out there and at the end of the day, they want to win football games. And if that guy gives them a better chance to do it, then your buddy not being able to play, sometimes you're willing to sacrifice that if it means you get the opportunity to achieve something that you've been basically working your whole life for.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think what you're saying about how, if you got good players, you got to play them. And if they're the right guy for the job, I think I agree with that. My only thought is that I don't know if, kind of going into this game, and God, I'm going to sound like coach speak when I say this, they had a game plan of what they wanted to do. Obviously things went sideways on them. And, there's a number of comments that could be made about that. But I think when it comes to Dupree and Jones, they're still freshmen. Do you trust them in that situation?
And I don't.
Is where my question is.
So yeah, I don't think they should have played unless they were going to put him in a few reps late when Yak was getting carries. Like that's about the only time that I probably would have. And I think that they were probably like, let's just get out clean. We trust Yakimelli to hold on to the football. So if we're going to give it to him, give him a couple of carries, give him some opportunity. I think there's a lot of young guys that I look at that I don't think need more than a couple of reps in a game. Like there's most of the guys, even Dupree and Jones, I don't know if I'd want them to get more than like 3-4 carries. Like that's about maybe get in for a series just to get your feet wet, just to get some film on yourself. And that's about it. I don't think either one of them deserve to have any weight put on them right now for carries because it's too early. We don't know what we have offensively. We need to figure things out first before we start making changes.
I agree with that. The thing with Yak, and I think Garabi made this point too, though, he does have a bit of a different running style than Tywee and Ches, who are both.
He's a little shiftier than those two guys are.
He's a little more, when he sees a crease, he just goes for it. Yeah. I don't think he's going to make a ton of people miss. Like the other guys can. Tywee can run somebody over.
He's got good burst, though. He can get through the hole quick,
Yeah, he's through the hole pretty quick.
He's probably a 4 or 5 guy.
I think that's interesting. And the other thing I would say is they got him in the first quarter, right? So they obviously see a role here where I didn't see it. Jake said, Ryan, I called Cade Yakimelli before and you guys blew it off. I didn't think he would play. I certainly didn't think he would be number 3 in that rotation. So
I actually did. I thought that he'd start the season at 3, but I thought one of the guys was going to overtake him eventually, just because I think they're more dynamic overall in terms of what they offer. We don't really have a guy like Malusi's got some shift to him. He's not Dupree. And that short area quickness and balance that he has is something that's special that we don't have in anybody else other than probably Trech and Pauling, and they don't have the mass that he has.
And I'm not even sure that, when you look at Ches, I don't know if he's got his speed back from when he got injured. I mean, watching him play, he ran hard, but like it just looked like it was a little bit more strained to get up to speed than maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he had a chance to really flash it either, though. Right? There was not a lot of open field there, whether it's blocked or whether it's burst from Ches.
I'm curious. I would love
a little more burst.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see the grades that the offensive lineman had from this game, and whether it was a physical thing or whether it was an execution thing.
So I got a question. Did you watch the All-22 that the Darrion put out this week?
I didn't get a chance to see it.
So one of the things you noticed from that, and I was talking to Ryan about this earlier. So the offensive line actually looked much improved from last year. The issues that we tended to have were, to me, and this is why I said this in the Discord, it seemed to break down to first game and first-year starter guys. So Renfro and Runner are both starting together for the first time. You know, they're both first. Renfro's not a first-year starter, but he hasn't played in 2 years. And Runner is definitely a first-year starter. And it showed. I mean, you could see him get over his feet at times. You saw him make a wrong read on the block. Little things like that caused a lot of issues in the run play. There was one play that stood out where he went for the Sam defender, who was part of the read for Tyler, and he left the Mike, who probably should have been his guy. Again, I don't know. I'm not the coach in the room. But he didn't double to him, and that's the guy who made the play, right? And so it's like little things like that you can go and film, and you can fix those things, right? And again, that's kind of how I saw it. It was a lot of first start issues. Some guys getting caught up in the pile of things instead of getting to their guys. Like, and those are things that I don't look at like it's the end of the world. We don't have the talent. It's, you know, it's we're starting our first game. We're all excited. We're a little bit overzealous. And to Western Michigan's credit, and this is why I think they're a better team than Buffalo was, they played incredibly well. They stayed in their run fits. They didn't crash into the hole and get blocked. Like they made the right reads. They made the right plays. They were coached incredibly well.
I was going to say they looked very disciplined.
They were very disciplined. I mean, the Lance Taylor is a Saban product to some degree, and they played like they're a Saban product team, right? And so that's why I look at that. I'm like, I'm not overly upset with how the line played. I don't know if every team we play this year is going to have the discipline that Western Michigan did, and I mean that genuinely. They played incredibly well in their run fits. So, you know, did the line play as good as we'd hope? No. Did they make some mistakes? Yeah. Did Nelson get beat once or twice? Yeah. But is it the end of the world? I don't think so. I thought the line got better a lot last year. I think it'll get better this year.
So I got to push back a tiny bit because I think the line will actually be pretty good this year. But talking to people who cover Western Michigan, they told me, and this is the story point, like their front seven's a problem. Like it's not going to be very good. And that was a 4-win MAC team last year. Even if they are a much improved team, I remember we did a Buffalo game last year, and we all said, "Hey, this Buffalo team's probably going to be a pretty good MAC team," and they weren't. I have a worry that this is going to be a pretty mediocre Western Michigan team, and that we made them look more disciplined than they are because I thought we struggled at times. I thought the line was better. The O-line was better than the defense line, in my opinion. I worry we're making too much out of, well, this is a disciplined Western Michigan team, or this is a team that's Saban product or well coached, and not enough of ultimately. Has averaged 3.9 yards per carry, right? If it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck. Don't call it a dinosaur. That it's not dominant enough, in my opinion.
Can you repeat that, Smart, Ryan? Right.
He brought up the yards per carry. He's set Justin up.
No, but it's true though, and I'm not discarding what Curtis said because I watched some of Darrion Raid's stuff too, and I did think the interior line got better as that game went on, and I thought there were some really nice flashes.
Later in the game, they look substantially better.
I thought so too, but like ultimately, your starting running back averaged 3.9, and the other guy averaged 4.4 against the MAC team, who, by their own admission, they thought their defense line was a problem. Like that worries me a little bit still.
I don't disagree with that. Like, there's a lot to clean up. Like one of the things that this could be a double-edged sword here because you look at it and you see a lot of the teams that we talked about that used to be from the West. They all seem like they look significantly improved. Does the fact that they played really well in week one kind of maybe make them lose focus on some of the things that they need to clean up? Whereas Wisconsin has to look at it and be like, listen, that wasn't good enough. We need to improve. Now, I can't say I'm not making excuses for Wisconsin. I'm saying this is where you can potentially see a substantial jump from Wisconsin coming into week 2, as opposed to some of those teams who may take a slight step back because they came out strong and maybe started feeling themselves a little bit. Wisconsin should definitely not be feeling themselves.
There's definitely a lot of good stuff on film to work on this week. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know.
Well,
especially those outside backers too. Like I was I was not happy with what I saw from them. Like that, I didn't see a lot of what I look for on film, because I don't know technique as well as some, is the physical tools. And I didn't see the physical tools really flash much in this game. Like those guys were not screaming off the edge like I expected. You can scream off the edge and get blocked and not make the play, but still be a disruption. And I didn't see a lot of plays where it looked like we were pushing guys back into the quarterback and making him have to feel uncomfortable. I can handle that if we're getting some hurries a little bit and not necessarily getting home. There were times where we weren't even getting in the guy's grill at all. And that's a problem. This is not a good enough offensive line for us to not be getting pressure.
Yeah.
Well, and let's with that, Rob, I want to go to you actually for this one right here, and then I cut you off, so then finish whatever point you're making. But what do you need to see this week to feel? I mean, I've said in one of the comments, Dom said we need to score 40, or I'm frustrated. Rob, like, what do you need? Just a comment I just cut you off on, but what do you need to see this week to make you feel better?
I mean, just offensive efficiency, but I mean, like, you look at how that game played out, like, just kind of being there, and it didn't feel bad. And like, even if Tyler Van Dyke doesn't fumble the one, like, I was feeling pretty confident throughout that game. So, like, obviously we got down, but it's like, it kind of felt like the team was actually moving the ball well. But then it's like, so I would say red zone efficiency. That's going to be the biggest thing, because they were able to drive the ball, but then they get bogged down in the red zone, which is, a criticism of the Phil Longo offense. And obviously, everywhere struggles with that. That's the biggest thing in the NFL or college. So that's what we want to look at. And I was just going to say the flip side is Tyler Van Dyke. I felt like he was under pressure pretty quickly. So, like, whereas we weren't getting pressure, it seemed like. So maybe just some clean pocket for Tyler Van Dyke as well.
One thing I'll say too, I thought was interesting watching the offensive film, is a lot of our routes were really long developing. I know we had that same criticism when it was Chris. We had a lot of long developing, especially on third down. And there was one play distinctly, they played cover 2, but they played it super deep. So they had 2 safeties super deep, and then all the 5 just dropped to, like, I think it was like a third and maybe 11, and the 5 dropped to the sticks and like slightly beyond the sticks to play down. And we ran a 4 verts route, and that was I think that's actually might have been the play where Tyler fumbled. And it was like, I get the idea to go for the first, but they dropped 7, and Tyler backed up. He had a bunch of time, and then he started running forward. And it's like, give him an outlet. Give him someone to throw it to. If they drop everyone, you need
Give
at
him a
least
hook
one
over the
person.
middle, somebody
something like one slant or one whatever. Just give him something to throw to, because he had nowhere to go with the ball at all. I mean, you have 4 routes going into 7 defenders. There's nothing there. And our receivers are okay. They got open actually more than I thought after watching the game on TV, watching the L22. There was a lot more open routes than I thought. But our receivers aren't the best receivers in the world. They're not always going to be open against 7-man coverage. So you got to get some kind of out for them. And that was one of the things, again, where I thought we were out coached on Friday.
So I want to throw my 2 cents on that question you asked, Ryan, because it's I said it in the Discord, and I firmly believe this. It's not a score to me in this game. Wisconsin needs to look competent and in control in this game. That's what they need to do. They need to go through this game when they want to score and when they want to attack. They need to look like they can do it. And when they want to just lean on the other team and say you're not doing anything, they need to be able to do that too. I want to see the defense be able to control the team. If they score 6 points, whatever, fine. They get a couple of field goals. I'd like to see them hold them out of the end zone. I don't care if you give up a couple of field goals, fine, whatever. But prove that you're capable of just saying you're not, all right, you're done. You're not moving the ball anymore. Because the level of athletes shouldn't be close in this game. And even if they're executing well, you should be able to make up for it with superior athletes on the field. And that's like, we've seen it. How many teams played FCS opponents that have just blown them off the field so far?
Indiana today.
Yeah.
What?
It's 42 points at the half.
Right. That team hasn't won a game in 3 years since 2021. They lost to the same team we're playing tomorrow, 42 to 6.
I hear you, but it's still Indiana.
I'm not looking at that game like that changes my opinion in Indiana at all. Although I do think they're an improved team this year.
I think they're improved. That's all I took away from it was I think that he is a decent coach and they're going to be better. I think it's a game that we have to pay attention to. Like, you can't go into that game and just expect to walk over them. I think you need to have your guys prepared for it. But we should be better, have a better roster than Indiana.
I'll say this in the big picture. I think Justin's point is correct. Like Indiana did to an FCS team what you should do to an FCS team, and there's definitely flavors of FCS teams. The one we're playing tomorrow is really good. That one's not. But
the one we're playing tomorrow beat the one you're talking about 48-6.
I hear you, but Wisconsin should still be able to dictate that game.
So
no, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just pointing that out.
Oh, really quick before I forget this one. See if can you turn your mic up at all? Will Hannah, crank up the microphone, dude in black.
Curtis is talking about
it.
Yeah, I don't know if your mic is low or see if that works. All right.
Yeah, we'll see what I can do.
Okay, no worries.
It's that deep voice of yours.
I do
probably.
To Justin's point, though, I would like to see Wisconsin. The word I would use is dictate a little bit. It felt like Western Michigan dictated to us, and Curtis, you talked about that, and Rob, you've hit on that in the Discord. It felt like we were playing into their hands and kind of playing the game they wanted to play. And I want to see us I don't care if you drop 6 or 7. Like I want to still see us to be able to dictate a little bit and get the defense on the heels for us to land the punch.
That's exactly what I said to you after the game and the post game is I want to see us be assertive and aggressive in these games because college players make mistakes when you put them on their heels. It's why you play aggressive defense because most of the quarterbacks can't react to it. When you make a team reactionary, then you're dictating the game, and more likely than not, they're not doing what they want to do. They're reacting to whatever what they think you're allowing them to do and trying to work that way. So I would much rather take away their A+ and put them at maybe their B- if they want to play. And we should be doing that all the time. I don't understand like the way we watch these games and I see it and I'm like, it always feels like the first half we're sitting there feeling out them. You could lose a game and a half. Like you can't just sit there and be like, well, let's see what they're going to do. And then we'll adjust and react. Well, what happens if you give up 3 touchdowns in the first half and you're struggling to move on offense?
Northwestern last year.
Yeah. Now you're in a bad spot where you've made adjustments, but do you know if that's not going to be too little too late? Like it's great that you made adjustments, but it was one thing I liked about Leonard. He would come downhill. Like he would attack when they got into favorable conditions. And we don't do enough of that right now. And it frustrates the heck out of me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Is my mic better now? Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah, Kurt, go ahead.
I was gonna say to that point, to Justin's point, that's exactly how I felt watching the game. That's why I was so adamant about the coaching earlier this week. You know, it's clear Western Michigan wanted to run the ball. They weren't even about to try to test our secondary. They know they don't have the athletes to do that, which is, a compliment to our secondary. That's awesome to hear. But, I mean, you know what their game plan is. It was pretty clear after the second drive, yet we stuck with 6 guys in the box for most of the game. And the argument that I'd heard, and maybe I didn't do a good job of making this clear, kind of my thoughts when I was saying we put in more D linemen. What I really meant was you need to put more guys in the box and you need to get more bodies in there because all they're trying to do is run. And it's obvious. And if you want to test one-on-one with a Hallman or a Forkreen, or God forbid they put Lucas in there, and you want to see if a Western Michigan receiver, when we played man, nobody got open.
Yeah.
So it's like, we could have just done that and then stopped the run, and that takes them out their game. And to Justin's point, that's exactly what Jim Leonard would always do. He'd find this is their weakness. This is what they want to do. Let's take them out of their game plan, and we'll shut them down to their worst yard total all season.
Yeah. No, I don't think the adjustments were there. There's still a part of me, man, and tell me I'm crazy on this, and any one of you can tell me. There's still a part of me that says, screw it. I think you still should be able to stop the run with a 2-4-5 against Western Michigan.
Oh, absolutely.
Not when they have 8 blockers. That's just a mathematical nightmare. And they get 4 yards of carry. You hold them to 4 yards of carry. But Allegro is really good. I do like Allegro.
Yeah, he is really good. I'm completely wrong on that. I just feel like I feel like our defensive line has issues that you're not going to solve by putting an extra one in there.
That's like saying you should stop Army in the option because we're a better team than Army is. You should theoretically, but the way that they run their offense. We almost lost that game.
We did.
I was there. That was crazy. We almost lost.
I know. All right, this Jake is a good point. Stop talking about Western Michigan. That boat has sailed. How do we move forward with South Dakota? Justin, you mentioned you just want to see kind of almost a mindset. You want to see more of a physical domination, less of a. What do you want to see from
physical domination? I want us to attack. Like if they're gonna try bringing extra guys in the box, go after them. Start taking shots. You have good enough receivers, and I'm tired of hearing people say we don't have the receivers do this. We have a good enough receiver room that we can attack every team on our schedule.
100%.
Alabama, Oregon, probably. I don't even know how good Penn State's corners are. They're probably above average.
Watching Saturday, I think Penn State might be better than both those defenses you said.
Probably. They have a very good chance to be, and Kotelnicki's a nightmare to prep for. That game is probably the scariest in terms of having to the coaches actually game plan for out of the games that we have.
So I had to bring this up because Justin, you just said I'm so sick and tired of hearing receivers be the problem. Jake says your focus is wrong. Our offense, we suck at the wideout position.
No, we don't.
No.
We do.
I don't think we do either. And the all 22 made that clear. I don't think the receivers are the problem at all.
I think
they're good. They're not great.
Well, Rob, I want to go to you because we haven't hit you up much, and we've been kind of we're in a rhythm. We're used to just all of us kind of bouncing off each other.
And I don't shut up.
Oh no, it's not that. We're just Rob is almost like a new kid to the school, and we're all sitting at our cafeteria table yelling at each other, and Rob is just kind of there.
I've talked enough on the Discord today, so you know.
I appreciate you, man. Thoughts?
There's no such thing.
Like, I don't think, and this could come off the wrong way, I don't think our boundary receivers are very good in terms of where we need to be as a program. I think they're very middle of the pack in the Big Ten, which is okay. I don't think that's a strength of the program.
It's not, but we're not relying on them for the bulk of our game plan. I'm sorry, Rob.
I was just going to say, I think you got to take a shot too, though. I mean, sometimes you got to throw the ball up. I mean, what I think the longest pass we attempted was that was completed was 14 yards. Like, that's just not going to help you. Then the only one that was actually launched somewhat deep was to Bryson Green. That was out of bounds. He didn't even have a chance to catch it. So, and I will say though, in the future, KBJ looks like a threat.
He'd be a fun
seeing him live, dude, he's got an extra gear.
I feel like KBJ of all the receivers is the most pure slot receiver to me, just watching them. Because I feel like Trech is kind of a hybrid. I feel like Pauling, I don't know if he's got exactly the shiftiness as Trech, but I feel like KBJ from just a pure slot receiver perspective might have the most upside.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. Trech has got some Welker to him, to me. He's just one of those dudes where you're going to send him out and kind of do different things with him, and he can stretch the seam. He's fast enough to do it. You just don't want to get him on probably one-on-one with a safety that can run because he's going to get eaten up by the size. He just doesn't have the size to play with that guy downfield. KBJ can go up and get the ball. Out of all the slot guys, he is absolutely the one who has the best ball skills going up. His length plays up for his size. And he's probably the tallest out of the three of them, too. I think he's, 5'10", 5'11"? Pauling's 5'10".
I think Trech might be a little taller than him, actually. But
Trech, I thought, was the shortest one.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, Trech is the shortest one.
Yeah.
We could stack two of them on top of each other like the little rascals.
I don't think he's the tallest, but he has the longest arms.
And we'd have one good big receiver.
KBJ is the guy who would when I was able to watch practice too. He would come in with the second unit, but he would make some plays that I think they're translatable plays. So I think there's a future there for sure. But again, you gotta get, whether it's Burrows, you gotta get better on the outside, man, because all those guys are going to struggle a little bit when the bigger cornerbacks can get their hands on them. All of them are.
Well, you're not wrong there. I will. So when I say the room overall is a good room, it's because I think the guys on the outside are average, and I think the guys on the inside are above average. And I think that gives them they're a better room than the bulk of the Big Ten. Now, they're not a better room than probably the top 5 teams in the league, but they're probably somewhere in that 6-7 range where you look at it and I'm like, there are guys on here that could potentially push for all conference type accolades. And Pauling, I think there's an outside chance that Trech can do it if he has the type of season where they use him the correct way. Then I think that he's got a shot at it. It's going to be slot guys that do it. And that's fine. If we can find ways to scheme them open and get them opportunity, then I don't care where the production comes from. You're probably going to struggle a little bit more not having guys that can kind of get loose. But take a look at what New England did. They basically had Welker and a big tight end, and that was basically their entire offensive scheme in the passing game. So it can be done with a slot guy and whatever else you can find to use. They just have to find ways to make it work.
If you have a great quarterback, it
Yes.
can be done.
Well, yeah, that low-key, the biggest takeaway from this is there is obviously some communication disconnect that was happening in that game too. And that needs to be cleaned up. And hopefully the film work helped. I get it. It's the first game you're going live with these guys. I expect there to be some miscommunication, but that's got to get cleaned up, and it's got to get cleaned up yesterday.
Well, and going to your point about what I want to see tomorrow, those are the kinds of things I want to see fixed tomorrow. Because there was multiple times where receivers ran the wrong routes, and it was obvious. And, like, actually, the film kind of made me feel a little bit less, upset with Tyler Van Dyke because he was making what – I mean, again, I side with the quarterback simply because he's a fifth-year guy. He knows what he's doing with the ball. He knows what the play is supposed to be. And when you see what the receiver did, it just – you can tell they were off based on how the defense was covering them, right? It's not like oh, Tyler Van Dyke's throwing in the triple coverage and Pauling standing by himself wide open. It was Pauling capped the route when the corner was right on his hip and there was no one over the top of him, and Tyler threw it to where there was empty space, which is why there was no turnovers. Like, if he was throwing it to the wrong spot on a wrong read, there'd be a pick. But there wasn't because he threw it to space, right? And so that's where it was like, I kind of err on Tyler on those things. That made me feel a little better. I'm not happy about the fact that we didn't get any passing touchdowns because that does wear on a quarterback's confidence who's maybe had to deal with some issues with confidence over the course of his career. That does not – I don't like that, but I do feel a little bit better about him because he was at least making smarter plays in that regard. So – and looking back on it, I mean, Tanner had 2 of his interceptions in the first game last year. So, I mean – I guess you can count that a W. We had 2 less interceptions our first game this year.
At the launch.
Yeah, exactly.
Will Hanna says, I don't care who starts as long as 2 more Pauling and Trech. Trent Brown says TVD is him. Heisman is coming.
By the way.
Hey, I mean, if that's the attitude you got, I'm with it, man.
I don't hate it. I
like
like
the optimism.
By the way, Jake, just in New England, that's your comparison. My point is you don't need a ton of weapons in the passing game to be able to be productive. You just need to use them correctly in order to be able to find ways to take advantage of them. It has nothing to do with being able to replicate what they did with Brady. You have to be able to find ways to get an advantage over what the defense is trying to do and attack that advantage. And that's effectively what it comes down to. Wisconsin's got – I've said it numerous times already. I think they need to stack. I think they should stack Pauling and Trech and make defenders try to figure out which way they're going to go and have to deal with that. Because if you guess wrong and you have the wrong guy try to pick up coverage, you're done. You've got an easy completion for probably 5 yards, and that's if there's no run after. So you've got an opportunity to do some things. You have to take that opportunity to put the defense in situations where they're not comfortable with being able to cover those 2 guys easily off the line. And whatever that has to be, you do it. If you put a bigger guy at the front of the stack and just say, all right, your job is basically just to get in the way so that have to work around you to get to those 2, so be it.
I'll also say this too, because this is a comment. By the way, there's a ton of comments in here regarding quarterbacks. Bo Dragon, Van Dyke makes Stocco look like Dan Marino.
Listen, come on. Do we need to go back and look at the first starts for a lot of these guys?
I don't need to talk about Stocco. I spent too much of my time punching the wall when he was playing quarterback. So
JP says the launch was legendary. The launch didn't get off the ground, but we were there and we enjoyed the hell out of it. I'll say this, like. Let's say, obviously, we talked about maybe 10 personnel getting 10 of both those guys on the field, stack them in the slot. What if you're just playing 2 or 3 receivers? Is it crazy to say Trech should be one of the boundary guys, put Pauling in the slot? And there is a risk, by the way, if you're going to try to come up and get handsy with Trech, he's quick enough that he might be able to make you miss.
If you miss, absolutely.
So
going back to
Pauling
that, though, and here's what I'll say about that, and this is why I think, and I'll go back to the boundary receivers. I think they're getting unnecessarily maligned. I don't think we targeted them at all. And Vinny Anthony was open quite a bit of times. Like there's a lot of times where he would run a go route and it was hip to hip and the safety was on the other side of the field and you could have dropped the go ball to him if you wanted to. I don't think we wanted to. And that's something that I don't know if that was coached. That was like, hey man, don't worry about it. Just we're going to run this play. This time we're going to look at this side of the field. I don't know if that was a pre-snap adjustment. I have no idea what that was. But there was plenty of times where he was open. There was plenty of times when Bryson was open. I don't think they're the problem. We just didn't target him at all. Like I don't even think he looked at Anthony the whole game. So I don't know where the issue is there. I don't know if it's Tyler. I don't know if it's Longo. I don't know what it is. But that's where it's like, yeah, I mean, you can put him out there if we look at him, but if we don't, like, then I don't think it makes a difference.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'll say Ashcraft should get used more. I actually think he played really well. The problem is with Ashcraft being out there, or any tight end, is you're probably taking Trech off the field if you do that, because more times than not, if he comes on, and you don't want to be doing that.
I was gonna say, actually, one of my favorite plays that from the game was actually Trech was out wide, and then they had Ashcraft next to him, and I saw it, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a screen to Trech. Yeah. And that was actually early in the game where Ashcraft got the ball, and I thought that was actually something that I'd like to see. Like, you can put both tight ends kind of out wide. Like, okay, we could run a screen on either side of the ball depending on the coverage. So it's like maybe you put Ashcraft out there, but then it's like, use them to block or throw a screen or something like that, and just give them.
And to go off that too, I liked one of the things that Longo did, which I actually really liked, is we played a lot more 12 personnel probably than we ever played last year, which is wild to think. I thought our tight ends played actually really well for blocking specifically, but the thing that they did a lot of was moving them out in space. And Rob, to your point, they had a couple sets where it was like, it's clear to me, I'm like, this is a screen. This is a screen. They're setting up. They got two tight ends and a Trech or a Pauling out here. This is a screen down the road. Now, we didn't really run it in that way, but I like that because it shows that I think we can do that. And I think those will be plays we use in the future. And I think I kind of like how they were moving that around.
I'm torn on that because I thought the tight ends played pretty well. I think they're both reliable options in the past game, but I think we have better options. Like, I think generally if you play a bunch of 12, that means you don't have as much Ches, Tywee, Cade, Pauling. That's where I think you're maybe taking more explosive playmakers off the field to put guys in that functionally are doing their jobs, which matters. Like, consistency matters. You talked about this too, Kurt.
Well, you want to go back to the Patriots. That's all the Patriots were. Guys who did their job.
The murderer.
So what I will say is Ryan, I agree with you. I think that if you want to tax a defense and make them uncomfortable, I think you want speed out there, and you want them to have to worry about coverage in a situation where you're putting your secondary players in a position where they feel like they have to make a decision between, do I come up and run support, or do I risk coming off of this guy and having him burn me? Especially if we're going to use the RPO game. Like, I want that ability to make them think twice about doing it, because I think we have several guys that are capable of being very effective in that. And I'm not sure. And we showed some of that with Ashcraft. It's not to me that you can't do things with him. I just think that there are situations, like if there's a guy that I feel more comfortable with using in the red zone, that's where you start bringing guys like Ashcraft in and say, all right, we're going to work the tight end game here a little bit more, because you have the size to box out a safety or a corner and be able to still pick up 7, 8 yards on a pass play. Whereas someone like Trech is going to kind of get swallowed up. Like, he doesn't have as much free room to run around down there.
Let me throw a couple of these quick comments up and we'll wrap it up, because we've already been here for 44 minutes. Justin's coming off the Green Bay game. Rob, are you a Packer fan? I don't actually know.
Yep, I'm a Packer fan.
Apologize for you guys.
I'm a Bears fan, so that was fun.
I'm a Niners fan. I'm indifferent. Wanted to throw this one in here. I lost it. Someone was saying thank you guys to all of us. Thank you guys for the show, and I lost that one. So I want to say thank you for everyone tuning in. Everyone saying the nice things. Really quick, roundtable score prediction. What do you think it'll actually be? I know, Justin, score wasn't the foremost thing for you, but if I'm going to put you on the spot here with a prediction.
I said 38-6.
Okay.
I originally had a touchdown on there too, but I'm like, I think the defense just comes out with fire this week and looks. We see some of the disruption that we didn't see in week 1, and I think they'll get it done. If not, I'm very, very uncomfortable going into the Alabama game. If we're not getting home against an FCS school, that's gonna be a long game against Alabama.
So 38-6, is it a confident 38-6? Because it feels like you're not fully sure.
I think it is. I think I expect us to be a little improved, and I think we'll attack a little bit more this week. So I think we're gonna get up early, and I'm hoping we coast in the second half. Like it's gonna be a little bit more. Let's work on the running game. We'll have a clean first half. Hopefully, get some good passing in, and just say, all right, now we can just work out some kinks with the offensive line and blocking, and just kind of run the clock out.
Love it, Rob.
45-10. So there's your positivity. It's like I hear the see the comments about positivity, but we do have to remember that we got Alabama the following week. So I mean, it's like we could be optimistic, but we got to be a little realistic about the rest of the season. That's what we're trying to figure out here.
Curtis
And fire guard.
And there's a bunch of listen. JB, Mark Ray. I know JB's also got free LaCrue going on. JB,
you want us to?
LaCrue is going to be at an FCS school.
Yeah, I was going to say we're going to encourage him to transfer like in college football. Free LaCrue.
You shouldn't say that.
He should have jumped.
No,
out.
I'm not. I'm totally joking. Listen, I'm making that joke just because JB knows that it's tongue in cheek.
Yeah, I like LaCrue. We always had a soft spot for Cole. Unfortunately,
I'm the one that said offer him initially.
True. No, that's a fact. And I had him on the show 3 times before they pulled. Like, we're all LaCrue fans. It's just injuries set him back for 2 years, and it's hard to climb out of that. Mm-hmm. JB said should have jumped on. You should have jumped on, bro. You got the contact info.
Yeah, I mean, JB, the link was there. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's on
Go
you,
to the top, JB.
Curtis, score prediction.
So someone said unwarranted optimism. I think the optimism is warranted. I think what I saw on Friday was not the full potential of this team at all. And it was pretty obvious watching the film. I think this week you got coaches that are going to be in the ear, fixing things up. I think you got Fickle, who, while he spoke in the press conference very eloquently, I could tell he was not happy. And I don't think he was happy specifically with his coaches. So I think you're going to see a different attitude coming out of that team on tomorrow. Now, I thought I was optimistic. I said 42-6. I think what you see is better run game. I think you see better run blocking from the offensive line. I think you see us taking a little bit more shots downfield. I don't think that the skill players on a South Dakota defense are going to be as good as a Western Michigan just from an athletic perspective. I know they got a couple guys here or there. They got one guy that they think is an NFL talent in their linebacker room. It's not like we've never seen that before. I think that our defense is going to shore up and play a better game against a team that they have a better scout for than Western Michigan, which, as much as I'm not happy about the fact we didn't have a good scout on Western Michigan, it does matter, right? So I think you're going to see a better performance there. So I think we come out. I think we beat this team 42-10 or 42-6. I think the fact that we had a bad game last week, relatively speaking, we're not going to overlook this team for Bama this week.
Yeah, Hannah's got 38-13. Max Mitchell's got 38-6. Oh gosh, I hate being like the more pessimistic one because I'm like 31.
It's because you talked to that South Dakota guy, isn't it? That's what it was.
The dude picked a win.
He picked a win.
So I'll say this really quick on that. It's interesting to me, and I don't blame him. Like, he's optimistic. I don't think they're going to win, but I would say like 10 years ago, there's not going to be an FCS guy who comes on a show and picks him to beat Wisconsin. The Wisconsin mystique is a little at a down point, is what I would say. But
it absolutely is.
But that's also a 4-year rolling average.
It is, but like we got to get that back, I guess is my bigger point. Like, we got to get back to the point where an FCS team comes into Camp Randall and the dude doesn't come on the show and be like, I think we got him. Like, damn it. I do think we win. I think it's like 31-13. I could see like a 28-13 type game. I want to believe this team needs to give me some reasons to fully buy in sometimes. And I don't think whether it's receivers or quarterback, we didn't see a great passing attack. We saw a team that, quite frankly, was down in the third quarter, and maybe Western Michigan's good, but maybe they're still a 4-win MAC team. We don't fully know. So I'm a little more pessimistic. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see 42-6. Love it. I would 38-6. I would love it. So that's what I hope, but I don't think we get there because we haven't seen that version of Wisconsin in a couple of years, unfortunately.
Well, it takes one. So
that's true.
We normally don't play FCS schools.
It's true. And most people here are 42-10 Chris Hart. So I'm all about that. JP's got 52-7. I'm all about that.
Will Hannah 9-3. South Dakota 9-3.
And Will Hannah's got South Dakota 9-3.
Well, yeah, and I'll say it again. I've been saying it on the Discord, but we better not run the ball like Paul Chris did against Eastern Michigan and didn't actually set our team up for success because all we did was run. I mean, the biggest thing that happened was we showcased Isaac Garendo, your boy Ryan. So with his big
That was his
touchdown.
one really long run from scrimmage.
Dude,
Yes, it was.
All right, let's wrap it there, guys. Thank you we got a bunch of people in the chat watching. We had several people call in. Rob, Justin jumped in. We got the Curtis rocking the robe. This is definitely Badgers after
As
midnight.
bad as after dark, dog. I mean, that is what it is. Friday.
Yeah, but you still got to hit that like button. Locked on Badgers, almost to 7K.
Yeah, we got to pass up Locked On Big Ten and Locked On anyone else. That's our
Let me
mission.
say this really quick. So, and Rob is awesome at this. Rob is always being super kind about this. He's always saying like the show. The one thing we don't ever ask for subs or likes on the show is it. Because I don't. If I do it all the time, I feel like weird about it because I do so many shows, people get sick of it. But we should have more subs in Locked On Big Ten. And let's
throw up that thing that says how much percentage of your watchers are subbed. All right, we got to throw that up there so that they know if they're not subbed, they need to sub to us.
If y'all want to, I would super appreciate it. I might do one call for it once a year or something. But Rob, I always appreciate those comments, man, and helping.
No, I deal with high schoolers all the time. They're always joking about YouTube stuff. Like, be sure to hit the like button, smash that bell. So I mean,
what a world we live in.
Yeah, this show ain't skibbity, that's for sure.
No, it ain't.
Good.
All right, on Wisconsin. Appreciate the hell out of all you guys. Obviously, live reaction show tomorrow, good or bad, we're always there. Justin, you on that?
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right. We will be there for you. I know Curtis is going to the game. Rob, where are you watching it?
I'll be watching it at home.
All right. On Wisconsin, we will definitely talk tomorrow.
On Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.